Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran and I want to make this video to encompass everything that's coming out in patch 7.1.5. And I mean everything. We're going to talk about the baseline things and then overall summaries of every single class. And I also want to talk a bit about rogues and what I think rogues are going to be at. So that's kind of how I'm going to structure this video. And this video is really just to sum up everything that's happening in the next patch. I want to cover the rogues and also cover some of the other honorable mentions of classes you guys might want to be on the lookout for in the next patch because of some of the different updates and some of the different damages that we're able to deal during the PTR. So let's get right to the video. To cover other baseline things, they're doing a lot of class changes. There's new legendaries being thrown in there in the game, so like trinkets that a lot more classes can use, shoulder pieces, chest pieces that you might have not have had. So be sure to check out the loot tab in order to see what legendaries are getting added for your spec and your classes. They also have artifact knowledge catch up so you can play your ults. Great for anybody who does PvPs because you can just basically catch up your characters with your artifact weapons since gear means less in PvP. Secondary stat changes are more PvE thing where they change it so that an item level that's a higher, like for example I got an 880 trinket the other day and I also that same day got an 860 trinket. Apparently the 860 has better secondary stats, so an 860 item level piece is better than my 880 item level piece. So Blizzard wants to change that up, so a higher item level usually means an upgrade. They also added a new Brawlers Guild, so if you've done Brawlers Guild before, you'll be able to do so, although you still have to get an invitation. We have the micro holidays, which are basically mini holidays that last for like 2, 3, 4 days, and they can be stuff like Anchorage event, Naxxramas, some kind of Spore event, maybe in the old Outlands, but like little holidays for people to do little things. So a lot more fun things to do in the game. Mr. Pandaria Time Walking Dungeons are back. I don't really remember liking any of them. I mean, I guess they were cool because Pandaria was the first expansion where I truly played through the whole expansion. So I remember those very closely, but I don't think I was really impressed. But that'd be kind of cool to go back and revisit. Plus, there's a cool new mount. There's also profession updates, which I haven't been keeping up on, but there are profession updates, so we'll leave it at that. And Blade's Edge Arena revamp has been added. And when I want to talk about the arena, I think they actually made the arena slightly bigger. But they changed dynamic sizes of everything and it's darker looking, so I don't know how I'll feel playing that arena because it actually has like lighting effects which make the game look prettier, but it might make it more difficult for me to PvP on, so we'll see how that works out, but it seems to be a fun, nice update. And plus Nighthold Raid will be available, which my guild will be hitting as soon as possible whenever that arrives, so that'll be a little bit after the patch 7.1.5 update. Alright, let's talk about rogues and wherever they're going to be at. So this is everything that's happened to rogues in the patch 7.1.5. We'll start with Assassination. Assassination in terms of PvE or PvP, I feel like Agonizing Poison has been buffed in terms of its proc chance. Elaborate Planning has been toned down, not completely nerfed, but toned down. Internal Bleeding has been buffed, so that's a really good buff for PvP. Subterfuge Garrote damage has been buffed, which is another great buff for the opener damage in PvE. And the Rupture damage has been changed, and as far as I believe, it changed in terms of like steady damage. But Rupture damage is effectiveness increased by the time that you're given it. So let's say you put in 5 common points, you get 24 seconds of a bleed. And so basically, one tick of that bleed, whether it was 1 point or 5 common points, the damage isn't supposed to make that much of a difference. The ticks are supposed to be the same. All you're choosing is just how long the rupture lasts on the enemy, which I think is a buff for PvP and PvE in some senses, because then you're not really losing out on how much damage your first initial rupture can do, especially with different openers that you can get. So I guess in a way you could say it's a buff, and after testing Assassination on the PTR, I do deal more damage, but I guess we'll just have to see. Crippling Poison now slows the enemies by 30% instead of 50. I'm not sure how this is going to stick in terms of PvP, because slows are pretty important in terms of PvP, and if everybody is running away from rogues, that might suck. All the rest of the rogue specs got a slow nerf, or nurture their slows, so we'll see how that goes. I'm pretty skeptical on that change, but we'll see how it goes. Of course, Blizzard decided to buff Flying Daggers, which is a most picked honor talent, obviously, but increases the radius by 100%. Actually, that might be somewhat viable for PvP in terms of BGs, but the amount of damage a Phantom Knives deals in PvP is just so low. I can't really think of somebody actually grabbing Flying Daggers and think that it'll be effective. Maybe for flag spinning so you can get other rogues out of stealth before they can get to you at most, but that's as far as I would really give it. Then we have Outlaw spec, which is first thing that we have on the Outlaw spec is blind is given to everybody, so that's fun. Outlaw got a aura to apply in terms of its damage increase. Cannibal Barrage got increased. Ghosted Strike got a tooltip fix. Killing Spree got a damage increase. Pickpocket got a melee range increase, so that's fun. Pistol Shot got a tooltip increase, or tooltip fix, and its slow has been nerfed. Saber Slash also got a tooltip increase, but in a way, with the aura that Outlaw Rogues got, in a way, that aura increases your effectiveness of your damage abilities by 16%. So in a way, Saber Slash and Pistol Shot got a damage increase, and so did your run through. They changed Slice and Dice, so Slice and Dice now also gives you energy regeneration rate by 15%. I still feel like that could be maybe a little bit higher, because then it make more competitive, but I highly doubt that it'll be the best talent for PvE in terms of just raw damage. I still feel like Roll the Bones 2 buffs deals more damage than Slice and Dice, even with this energy regen buff. But in PvP, we'll have to see how it goes. I'm pretty hopeful for PvP, but if it doesn't work out, then I could see it kind of go sour. Blade Flurry got a nerf in terms of its cleave AoE damage. Instead of dealing 35% of normal damage, now it deals 30, but that's completely fine. I've been playing a lot of Outlaw recently, and the AoE damage deal is actually just dumb. So I'm fine with this nerf, because honestly, they did get us a buff for an aura, so it kind of bounces out. Blunderbuss Artifact trait proc now deals a lot more damage, so we'll have a lot more options in terms of our very first row of talents, whether you want to Ghost Strike, Sword Master, or Quick Draw. So that would be one of the different options that we'll have, and I think Quick Draw might be one of the better options that a lot of rogues will be running, but I still feel like for PvE, Ghost Strike will be the talent that most people will be running. But for PvP, we have a lot more options. Blur time has been changed in terms of its titles or how they function. So now it says, while Adrenaline Rush is active, your ability cooldowns recover 50% faster, not during Adrenaline Rush. So it kind of like includes more abilities into the effect, because during Adrenaline Rush it was like, oh, the ability is prior, but now it's like, while you activate it, yes, now we have a faster cooldown for everything. Also, they reduced the effectiveness of Fatebringer and Fate's Thirst, which one of them reduces the cost of finished moves by 2 instead of 3 now, so that's artifact trait. And then Fate's Thirst, they changed the effectiveness of stacking damage for your run through from 6% a stack to 4, but when you test it in terms of damage, PvE wise, we were doing more damage anyway, so I guess that change is fine. And PvP, I still think we're not really losing too much in terms of burst, because our Saber Slashes are hitting a little bit harder. So overall, I would say Assassination is doing a little bit more damage, Outlaw is doing a little bit more damage, PvE and PvP. The only thing I'm concerned are the slows. And finally, we have Subtlety. Subtlety got an aura increase in terms of effectiveness and healing by 9%. So all your abilities, like for example, Nightblade periodic ticks, are 9% more effective. Gloomblade got a buff, and I'm pretty sure it might be a PvE alternative. I'm not sure if anybody will be running PvP Gloomblade, but it's an interesting ability and it deals a lot more damage than it used to, so that's a plus. Master Shadow's got a slight nerf in terms of energy that it grants you, but I don't think that's too much of an issue, because it goes from 30 energy to 25. So 5 energy isn't really a lot. Master of Subtlety passive in terms of the, I guess how long the passive lasts. It went from 6 seconds to 5 seconds, so a little bit less damage in terms of how much damage you can deal with Master Subtlety. Shadow Focus got a slight tune-up, but nobody grabs it anyway. Then we have Nightblade. Slow now isn't as effective. It used to be 50% slow, but now it's 30. So everybody got hit by that change to their slows. Then we have Akari's Soul, now procs Shadow Strike and Cheap Shot after 2 seconds on your target. So it shouldn't be on the target, but should be on your target. And hopefully they didn't just reword it, but they actually changed how Akari's Soul should work. So if you had before where Akari's Soul would attack a target that's been blinded, that shouldn't happen anymore, and hopefully that won't happen, but we'll see how it comes out. But Akari's Soul will be proccing a lot faster, so you'll be able to line up burst damage together much quicker. Gormor's bite damage got doubled, so it deals 1000% plus 1000% shadow damage, so basically double the damage of Gormor's bite for PvE and PvP. I think this is a great change, because you'll have a stronger opener as a Subtlety, especially when you're opening with a mage or any other bursted class. So for PvP, it'll be awesome, because you smack him with a Gormor's bite for a little bit extra damage in order to make sure you can have more chance to secure a kill. And an awesome change to Shadow Nova, where after using a Shadow Strike or Cheap Shot or Shuriken Storm while Shadow Dance is active, you explode, dealing shadow damage, and this effect can occur every 5 seconds, instead of how it was where every time you come out of stealth, Shadow Nova pops and hits everybody around you. So you can proc a lot more often every 5 seconds by using Shadow Strike and Cheap Shot. Overall effectiveness in terms of damage, it's an increase for Subtlety, PvE and PvP. Now for the general rogue changes, critical strikes have been nerfed from 10% to 5% in terms of baseline critical strike. We got Shrouded Concealment, which is a cool gimmicky ability. It won't really see that much play in PvE because, let's say, in mythic runs, you still have to kill a certain amount of mobs before you can complete the run. But in PvP, it might be fun if you're playing with another class that needs a little bit of stealth, so you can make sure everybody gets an opener and rogues always get the first hit. We also got a change to Alacrity, where it stacks faster, gives you 2% haste every single stack, but stacks only 10 times, so speed up on that. Anticipation now holds 10 combo points. Cheat Death now has a 6 minutes cooldown, so that'll suck a little bit. Death Throw Bow for all 3 specs has more damage in terms of its AoE. Jeeper Stratagem has been nerfed by 50%, where you finish moves used to deal 10% increased damage. Now it deals 5% in order to account for the changes, plus the auras that you should count in, so it's more like not really quite a nerf, but like a balance down, because you're only getting buffed anyway. Feint has been changed, so it's no longer 20 energy, but 35 energy, so rogues can't really spam Feint and will have to be concerned in terms of PvE, being able to hit that extra Saber Slash in there, or you save up the energy for the Feint in order to reduce damage that you take in PvE. And in PvP, it'll just mean rogues that are bad at energy management will basically die out faster than anybody else, because they'll be spamming Feint and they'll be energy starved and they'll kind of fall behind. Marked for Death has been changed, so now it gives you full combo points. So if you're rolling, let's say, Deeper Strat on PTR last time I did it, if you had Deeper Strat and Marked for Death, it will give you 6 combo points. On the live servers on 7.1, it would give you 5 maximum, so that's a cool change. And Prey on the Weak now was added with Blind for Assassination. So as Assassination, if you blind somebody, you can have Prey on the Weak added. So a lot of good changes for rogues, I feel like. We'll have to see how it all works out at the end of it all. I know a lot of people were pretty skeptic about all the changes for rogues, but we did get aura changes in terms of damage increase. So if we have same utility that we had before, plus aura damage increases, then I think we'll be okay for the most part. And I think Blizzard is trying to balance out specs in PvP and PvE. I am pretty optimistic about playing Outlaw, but we'll see how it goes as soon as the patch drops. I'm actually very excited to go in and test all these things live. I'm excited to go in and test out Slice and Dice. And if all worst comes to worst, everybody will always be able to play Assassination for the damage that you have, plus the blind that you have, plus the change they did to Paladins in terms of constantly dispelling all your poisons. So that should be happening a lot less for Assassination rogues, but I guess we'll just have to see how it happens in the game. Some of the other side changes to all the other classes, and some of the classes to take a note for in case you are thinking of transitioning from rogue or just simply want to have an alt. Let's talk about some of the classes that are getting some of the cooler changes done to them. I feel that Unholy Death Knight's got a few damage buffs to them and survivability buffs. So if you played a Death Knight in the past or have a Death Knight alt or like Unholy for whatever reason, you might want to check out Unholy Death Knight because I think they'll be hitting harder. Hunters got traps, so you might want to check out Hunters. Beastmaster and Marksman cannot use traps. Zerala will have stronger traps to use and utilize, so you'll have a lot more options in terms of traps. They also brought back the knockback trap for Marksman, so that'll be very, very, very exciting to check out. So check out your Hunters because now you might actually feel like a real hunter. Mages got a few changes, and on the PTR, Arcane was doing so much damage. You guys might want to check him out. Arcane might be the Arcane Dream again. We'll just have to see how it goes. Fire got a few changes in terms of crit and damage. I think Fire should be dealing more damage, but less crits. So you might feel nerfed on that. So it might be something new and fun for people to check out because it should be doing a little bit more in terms of its effectiveness, but we'll have to see. Demon Hunters have now gotten mana burn mechanic and mana breaking, so it's kind of like they'll be siphoning the healer's mana throughout the whole arena run, whether it's 2v2 or 3v3 or BGs. So you'll be able to burn enemies' mana and then hit them and deal damage based on how much mana they have or how much mana they don't have. So that's another cool change to check out. I feel like Demon Hunters will be a fun spec in terms of just dealing raw cleave damage. They'll also have the mana burn mechanic. So I actually honestly think that'll be a ton of fun. Another class that you guys should definitely check out if you are in the mood for checking out other classes besides Rogue, Elemental Shamans. Apparently they're really powerful. Currently on 7.1, as I'm making this video, they're really strong, and I've got to see that power for myself last night, and holy crap, the amount of birds they can deal is straight up insane. But on the PTR, they were dealing so much damage, it was actually insane, and I love playing with an Elemental Shaman. I would basically trick the Shaman as an Outlaw Rogue, and watch the Shaman just fire meatballs and icicles and whatever the hell he fired at the enemy. Just watch the enemy burn to the ground. It was straight up hilarious. As an Outlaw Rogue, I basically dealt no damage, but I was the biggest contributor to in terms of his bursty mechanic. So that'd be something fun to check out and something cool for you guys to explore. And I think that's about everything that I can think of in terms of, oh, warriors too, arms warriors and fury warriors. You got a few changes. Warriors got a disarm and also got this cool shout, where they'll shout at the enemy and the enemy will deal damage to 50% less damage to everybody. Actually, it's called duel. You duel the enemy, you challenge the target to a duel, and while challenged, all damage you and the target deal to other targets is reduced by 50%. So basically you force an enemy into this 1v1 duel where the warrior will deal 50% less damage to others, but it will make the enemy deal 50% damage to everybody else. So you're forced to duel each other, and that's literally all you can do to another. So I think that'll be very exciting. So those are some of the other class changes for you guys to check out. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll have the link for the WoW head link and all the class changes for you guys to read and check out. But I'm very excited for 7.1 to come out very soon, and hopefully this video was enough for you guys to get all the basic information you need as a rogue, as a player, and as somebody who's maybe thinking of playing alts with the mechanic that's coming out very soon, with your artifact weapon catch-up mechanic, where you can get your artifact points and research back up and everything and all that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. My name is Dalrin. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Again, links in description, so please go read them for yourselves. Thank you guys. I'll see all of you in the next one.